Welcome to the Kingston Creative Meetup. Thank you so much for joining us for the very first meetup of 2022. We're so excited to have you. And tonight we're talking about how to build online communities. We know whether it's for your personal brand or your business, it's been so important in this time to build a community. But how do we do it online? We've been online for so long. And tonight we have two specialists here to talk to us about how we can build online communities. We're so excited to talk to Naomi, Garrick, and Joel. We're so excited to speak to them as they help us to build these communities, define what this really is, and help us to kind of dig deeper into what this can mean for us, whether we have a business or we are a brand ourselves. And there's a special feature tonight where we'll have breakout rooms, where you will be able to have those one-on-one sessions with the speakers, ask the questions you'd like, and connect with them on a deeper level. So we're very excited about that. And we also look forward to having you, field your questions through to us and things like that. So we're excited to start tonight. We have Joel with us, and he is, as he would describe himself, a creative and eccentric marketer. And he deals with social media marketing, focusing a lot on strategy, campaign development, and creative direction. And for Naomi, she is a PR consultant and author. A lot of you may know her as the PR chick. We're going to be talking to both of them tonight as they, walk us through how we build these online communities. Welcome, Joel. Welcome, Naomi. You're looking wonderful tonight. Thank you for joining us for the meetup.
Thank you, Tavia. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Naomi. Good to see you again.
You too. I mean, not in person yet, but this works.
I love these ones where everybody know each other. So it's just a big chat. We're just chilling. And everybody else is just chilling with us too, right?
Same way, so yeah, man.
Perfect. So we're talking about building an online community. How about we talk about what does that really mean? When we talk about having an online community, what are we talking about really? Any of you can kick us off.
I'd allow the lovely Naomi to go first.
why thank you. So you know what, Tavia, the thing is that we are human beings and we all crave connection. And especially with what's happening now with the pandemic over the last 2 years, where we've all been forced to be online or to really, really utilize these online spaces, we don't have that real life connection that we would normally have when we go to events, when we're at networking, when we're out at events, partying, or whether it's for business or for pleasure. And so what you're finding now, especially in the last few years, is that people are moving more towards a community. And in this online space is somewhere where they can feel seen, they can listen to someone that they like. It's almost like, we have all these cyber friends, Joe and I are actively on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he'll speak to, the amazing collaborations that can happen and connections with people outside of your regular space. So for me, community is feeling seen. It allows us to build trust, to like people, to know people. And, there's so many different types of communities that you can be a part of. It really depends on, where you are in your life and what you're seeking, but there's a community for everybody.
I love that. So it's basically what you're used to physically, but online.
Yeah, with a lot more people.
So those are the perks. Love that. Love that. Joel, what are your thoughts on when you think of an online community? What does that mean for you?
So I have to echo everything that Naomi just said. That's pretty much a community in a nutshell. And it's funny you ask because we sit on two sides. So we're in the personal branding aspect of things, and then we're also in the corporate side of things. So when we talk about brand development and we talk about companies, right now the word consumers and clients is literally being now interchangeably used with community. Because what's happening is consumer behavior, how people view workspaces, how people view brands, how people view personal brands, it has changed. People want to feel a part of a unit. People want to be able to share sentiments and share interests with a group of people. And even though that has been happening before, right now, because of the technology that exists and trying to figure out how do you meet people where they are, that becomes a part of the community. Community is not just followers. It's not just people who are subscribers to your content. It's not just people who may be brand advocates for what you're doing. It's now finding ways to serve them and also have them remain a part of what you're doing. So our community is like a movement. It's like consistently adding value to those who are a part of that circle. And I think it's important for companies, brands, everybody to pay keen attention to that, because it is redefining how we look at clients, consumers, business owners, or whatever it is that we term it as. So in addition to what Naomi said, a community is really just a group of folks with shared interests, common values, social impact, thinking along that line, and conversation starters.
Love that. So it's not just a group of people in a space who probably like the same things, but how do you add value to each other? How do you ensure that what it is that you both like, there is some taking and giving, there's adding something to it.
And Tavia, I would love to add something to what Joe said. So everything he said was great, on point. But I want the audience to also understand that a community doesn't mean you have to be an influencer with 1 million followers or 10,000 followers. You can have a community with 10 people, with 100 people, but it's 100 of the right people. And that's actually why we've seen this growth in brands wanting to work even with what you call a micro influencer. Because even though they don't have a community with thousands of followers, they have the right community that's engaged, they consistently share, they're getting value, and they trust this individual.
Intimate.
So we use a lot of bigger celebrity type influencers when you just want mass brand awareness. But if you really want to build a community, brands are starting to work more with those smaller, micro, nano influencers that are less than 10,000 people, because they get to have real interaction, as Joel said, engagement, conversation, and it makes you feel like you're really a part of something and not just a fan.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Naomi mentioned that, because even earlier today, when last year when social media was down, I started at Twitter Spaces, right? And there are a few folks who are connected with on Twitter, probably like a month in advance or so. And I just started a random Twitter Spaces. And we had about probably 400 people. Literally, as I said before, it's a random Spaces. I've done Spaces before where I plan it. And that degree of persons that we got in that Spaces was beyond amazing. And that Twitter Spaces led me to connect with the editor-in-chief of a very reputable magazine, the creative director there, and a few other folks. And as a result of that Twitter Spaces, all of us were a part of a marketing community. So we have this thing called Marketing Twitter. All of us are a part of that, and that's where we meet. But that was our first time literally having conversations. And I use this as an example because just earlier today at about 2 o'clock, we had a second edition for the same Spaces that we did. And I looked at how we were able to move from meeting through a community online. All of us are not mega stars or mega influencers or nothing, but because we are niched around the marketing community, we have folks who are interested in marketing, and as such, that's all the value we need. So whenever it is that we start conversations or might do a Twitter Spaces or have a discussion, it's guaranteed that people will come because we have garnered and built a community around that. And it's funny because we set the Spaces in the middle of the day. It's a Friday, 2 o'clock, maybe lunchtime. People don't really care much. And when I told them, guys, we have a community of people who are interested in what we're talking about, they were like, this was an amazing Spaces. And I'm talking about people who are not similar to what Naomi mentioned, not limiting what a community is. One of them is from LA, one is from Trinidad, one is from Wisconsin, South Africa,
all over the globe,
all over. And it's imperative for you to look at community as a wide scale thing and how you can add value to it, be a part of it, and also scale up with it.
So let's break it down a little bit, right? So I'm building a personal brand for myself, or I have a business, and I hear this thing about building a community. I see it online, I see people joining Spaces, but how do I create it? Do I just say, okay, go scour Twitter for some random talks? How do I create one for myself that I can say, okay, yes, I've built a community? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So I'll start with that one. So as a personal branding coach, what I would say first is, what's your purpose of being online, right? Are you online just because you want to build this community? Why are you building this community? Or do you have something to offer? What's the value that you're presenting? So first we have to start with you as the individual and that personal brand, right? What are you bringing to the table that people would want to be a part of? But even deeper than that, really understanding what is your why. For even as you decide to join different social media platforms, what do you plan to do in this space? And then thinking about even your own personal brand, what's the thing that you want to be known for? So what do you want to share? What knowledge are you going to share with your audience? What do you want people to think about you when you show up online? And what should they expect when you enter this online space, right? It starts with understanding your why first, but then thinking about what is this value that I'm bringing? What is the difference that I am bringing in this space as a professional, as a creator, as a creative? Why would people want to listen to me, right? And so you have to start there first with understanding that why, and then looking at what's the best platform for me, because you don't have to be on every platform. Yep. So you really have to understand who your audience is, right? So who is based on the problem that I solve with my experience and my skills and my knowledge and my own personal journey, who is my ideal audience? Do they live on Twitter? Do they live on Instagram? Do they live on LinkedIn? Do they live in my email subscription? So, or do they live in the traditional media space? So you have to start looking at where does my audience live online? And then how do I want to share with them? Am I going to go live? Am I going to start a YouTube stream? Am I going to do a Twitter Spaces? Am I going to be in Clubhouse, right? So am I going to start a Facebook group? But it all goes back to that why. You always have to be asking yourself, why am I, what is the end goal for me to really just build a community of like-minded people that shared interests, or that I want to educate or entertain or provide value? Or am I building a community because my end goal is that I want to build this community because I have an amazing offer and I want people to understand my brand, what I have to offer, so that I can eventually monetize this community, right? So you have to really think about, why am I doing this? Is it entertainment? Is it education? Is it to eventually make a sale? Is it to get clients and leads? Or I just like to show up online and I just want to have friends with everybody from all over the world. So you have to start with that why first, and then you work your way, starting with one person, because nobody started with 1 million. We all can't be like Joel, who just shows up in the middle of the day and does a Twitter Spaces with 400 people, right? But you have to start where you are. You have to at least start, and people have to know you. So you have to be showing up first, right, with your brand. So people are like, oh, I've been seeing Tavia popping up in my space lately, and she's always talking about these things. I think you would be interested. Join me when she comes on live again, and let's watch and see what she has to say. So you have to show up, right? Yep. So people will know who you are, and that begins to create this social proof. And we'll talk a little bit more about social proof as well, and how important that is.
Love that. So guys who are just joining us, we are talking about how to build an online community. How do we create that space that people want to come to, that people feel there is a value there? And we just asked the question, how do we build it in the first place? And of course, you have to know what your why is, whether you're a personal brand or you're a company. What is the value that you are adding to your consumer or your customer or your audience? What is that problem, whether it is psychological, emotional, or whatever else it is that you would be adding to them. So thank you so much for that, Naomi. Joel, tell us your thoughts, what it is that, where do we start? What else do we consider?
It's literally showing up. Naomi mentioned some very critical and key points in terms of having that why and showing up. And when we talk about showing up, sometimes people overcomplicate it and feel like, okay, I want to build a community, but I need to get the perfect pictures. All right, then. And then it moves from the perfect picture to the perfect launch video and the perfect introductory video. And then you have to get the brand colors right. and then you have to get the lighting perfect, and you have to get, and when you, by the time you realize,
you don't do nothing.
You don't do nothing. You know,
and then somebody else is doing exactly what you wanted to do.
And then you're like, oh my God, you know, whatever. So let us just get it back to the basics. Show up. What does showing up looks like? This is what showing up looks like for me, in my estimation. One, you have to be a part of the conversation. When you join a Clubhouse conversation or you join a Twitter Spaces conversation, raise your hand. You know, tweet something, use the hashtag, start talking to people. And that's how you start to build connections, because connections then build community. But you can't expect to want to, you know, get into this thing, whether it is what you're doing is a profit generating mandate or a social impact mandate or a, you know, something else. But the first thing it starts with is connection. And you can't be connected if you don't talk to people, because you have to remember the intention is, it's your intention. You want to do something. Somebody else can't do it for you. You want to write a book? You want to talk about your art? Who is going to talk about the art? You have to talk about the art. And I know sometimes, you know, you have things like imposter syndrome. I see one of our colleagues in the chat saying the fear, and that's fine. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you have to move past several things and understand and own up whatever it is that you're doing, because you have to believe in your product, you have to believe in your service, you have to believe in your abilities, and then be able to bring that to people. Because the moment you can't do that, then people will not want to be a part of your connection or join your community. So in showing up, it's really forgetting the perfection, And we're, you know, especially as creative people, like I beat myself up for it sometimes as well, because I just love quality. And sometimes I'm not always going to be able to put out quality. Nobody cares sometimes. The other day, I was in my birthday and I have this concept, and this is all a part of, you know, talking about community as well, because I built up this concept where my Instagram, you know, folks or my Twitter folks look forward to what my birthday shoot is going to be, right? And this year, I just never cared. I just pulled I have a little board, a little word board, and I just put birthday 28 and I go outside and I take the picture. And I get the same response that I would take if I was on the highway with some, you know, in a blazer. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to just ditch the perfection and understand that your community connects with you because of that authenticity that you come with. So whether you're in the middle of the road doing a big photo shoot, or if you're in your backyard, I take one picture, they more than likely respond the same because of what they're doing. But it's also a very interesting line to toe, because you also want to show up your best self, right? You want to show up your best self, but again, it boils back down to what that best self looks like for you. We have content creators who are doing amazing, and I just throw up the picture, Majimbo, the girl on Instagram, Majimbo, that funny girl. She just do a video. She don't even use no apps or no editing, nothing. She do the video and she throw it up. And Elsa. And she does, and she gets crazy.
She always looks like a mess, but it's the best.
And because guess what happened? That's Elsa and Elsa's community. Imagine Elsa doing high quality videos now. Nobody cares.
Like
Julie Mango.
And it would not be authentic to her brand that she's created.
Let's talk about Julie Mango. You know, Julie Mango kind of scale it up a little, but it is still very authentic and very in-app TikTok video kind of stuff. And I say all of this because, and then you have content creators I have friends who are killing up themselves over the perfect content, and it's just not getting anywhere because they don't have the community who is going to look at the content. So let us bring it back to the fact that you have to show up. Yes, you have to show up. You have to build genuine connections, and you have to join in on the conversations as well. You can't be fearful, because fear equates to you not being confident in what you're trying to put out there. And
I can smell it right away.
Yeah, a key part of community building and connecting is just starting with just getting into those conversations. Sometimes there will not be a conversation for you to start, especially if you're putting out something that's very new, or you're putting out something that's very different. You know, that's where the art of collaboration helps to even build your community. I don't know nothing, right? So I'm interested in PR, and I'm sure Naomi has had, you know, Naomi is a superstar, by the way, and I'm sure Naomi has had several, you know, PR practitioners.
But you know what, Joel, when you spoke about the perfection, I was just like, this would be a great time to take off this jacket because it's so hot in my office. So I'm actually going to take it off, guys, because we don't need to be perfect. And I'm super hot. And the dog just came in here and he's just like breathing down the place and adding to the heat. And I'm just like, we're just not wearing the jacket today. So I'm here.
I love it.
There you go. There you go.
And I want
real life example of what it means to be
I love it.
And build our community. Love it.
And I love it because, when I say Naomi is a superstar, I know, folks who have worked with Naomi and have learned so much. And let's use an example. I am interested in PR, right? But I'm also a photographer. And I see Naomi and I'm like, oh my God, this lady does so many good things. And she has, her personal brand is amazing. I don't have no community and I want to talk more about my photography. I message Naomi and say, hi, Naomi, love your work. I have an interest in PR. I'm a photographer. I'd love for you to be a subject of something that I'm working on. Would you be open? Naomi might be saying, I want some new brand pictures. And that opportunity comes up. When Naomi posts that to her LinkedIn, you're building, that's driving traffic to you. 1, business, 2, interest. And I use that as an example because sometimes you have to bring the conversations to the people as well. So I want people to understand and, for our listeners to understand the importance of how critical it is to show up, dish to perfection, because, I said dish to perfection because honestly, at the end of the day, when you reach a certain level, you go, wow, top quality thinker. Me can't chew up things. You get what I'm saying?
You're past the therapeutic stage.
But at the same time, really, really understand and value that you have to show up and you have to also be your authentic self.
So let me give you a real example of what you just said. Exactly what you said about the photography, Joel, is exactly what happened. So
wow.
My first professional headshots I did with Adrian Query of Studio Craft. I was his first person to do professional headshots. And that was the cover of my workbook.
Wow.
And he didn't charge me because he just started to get into it. And I was like, well, I'm about to launch this book. Let's just do this together. And now he's like the go-to headshot guy and I'm the personal branding PR chick. So, but yeah, so you have to be willing. And what I love about the online space is that there are so many opportunities to collaborate with people you've never met before. One of the things I do on LinkedIn is I follow lots of personal branding specialists from all over the world because I'm not the only person and I want to learn from them. I want us to collaborate so that we can exchange audiences. So my audience will grow because I'm now exposed to her audience or his audience, and her or his audience will also grow because they're exposed to my audience. So collaboration is a beautiful thing, and the online space really gives us that opportunity to collaborate. But to add on to what Joel said, you have to be able, a lot of people talking about fear, imposter syndrome. Guys, every time I speak at an event, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Why do these people continue to pay me to come and talk to their teams? Like every single time, like without fail, my armpits sweat.
I saw that LinkedIn
everything.
post.
It's awful. But once I start speaking, it's just like, and I see the faces and the responses, or then I get the feedback after. I'm like, girl, you know exactly why you're here. But imposter syndrome is a real thing. I've been in PR for over 20 years, and still sometimes when a major brand approaches our company to do a bid for something, it's still like, oh my God, why did they call us? But we know why eventually, but the initial is like, whoa. So you have to just be willing to do the things scared. Do your first live on Instagram. Maybe only one person will show up. That's okay. That one person took their time out of their day to show up for you. And maybe the next time you go on, 2 people will show up, and then maybe 10, and then it slowly starts to grow. But you can't let things like that stop you. As Joel said, don't wait on it to be perfect. My coach says done is better than perfect, right?
Yep.
And as we all see, you have these brilliant ideas, and then tomorrow you see somebody else putting out exactly what you had in your head, and they do it in their little whatever way, not perfect, and they're getting all the clients, and they're getting all the sales, and they're getting all the comments, and they're getting all the shares, and you're just sitting on like,
I could have done that better, but you didn't start.
But you have to start. So start where you are, start scared, start with it not being perfect, because it can only get better after you start. You have to just start.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
For those on our other platforms, whether it's YouTube, feel free to drop your questions there and we will field them to our speakers as well.
Guys, you need to consider using StreamYard next time so you can get all of the YouTube, Facebook, all of the comments would come in on one thing.
There you go. Tech support. I know you're taking notes. So we're hearing about, how to build an online community, know what your value is, start, show up, consistency, follow others who are also in your space so you can learn from them. So you don't need to start from scratch. You can take from others' experience and be a part of that as well. Now that we've started an online community, we've started to do that little one live stream, show up here and there. How do I continue so that I can actually grow my business or my brand? How do I remain consistent? What are those things I need to keep in mind?
Well, exactly what you just said a while ago. Consistency is the key. And consistency for you, maybe I show up once a week on my chosen platform, or I do a newsletter once a month, or I go live every Friday at 2:00. But you have to find a system that allows you to show up consistently, because you don't want to get people excited about your brand. They're having conversation in your spaces, and then they don't see you again for another 3 months. I'm guilty of that. I apologize to my community all the time, and I blame it on the fact that I am running a PR agency, I'm a coach, and I'm doing all the things, but it's a bad excuse. But what I find though, and I'll tell you why consistency is important. I find that when I'm not posting anything consistently, I'm also not being selected for a lot of opportunities. The minute I start back talking about personal branding tips and why your employees need to understand the value of their brand and how it brings value to the company, and I start just talking about whatever I would talk about, all of a sudden I get asked to speak on events, come and do a workshop, come and do a personal branding training session. Can we book you as a keynote speaker? It happens without fail every single time. So that's a very strong reminder for me that I have to be showing up consistently for my community, and also for people that I'm not even aware of that are watching my brand for future opportunities, right? So you have to find the system. What I found works for me, I'm up very early. I go to the gym at 5. So when I get home at 6:15, that's when I go on social media. That's when I post something. So I try to post something on every platform. So LinkedIn, on my personal Naomi Garrett page on Instagram, on my PR Chick page. If I have questions in my community from my online subscribers, I respond to those things. And I use that time to read other people's posts and connect, like, share, comment, because that's another way for your community to grow, because other people will see you popping up on these people's things, especially LinkedIn, that shows you exactly who you are with your headline statement. That's one of the great things about LinkedIn. It really encourages connection. I mean, I feel like I have a community on LinkedIn of people I've never met before, but they're the people that consistently comment on my posts, or they share it, or they send me a DM or whatever. So you have to, one, find out a system that works for you, that you can be consistent, whether it's posting at a certain time or on certain days, or you choose when and how you do it. But then also, it's not just about you posting, it's about you connecting as well, because that's how your community is going to grow.
Love it. Joelle, what are your thoughts on, how we build? And of course, just to weave this in, let's also talk afterwards about, that social proof, because that could also be a connection where more people come because they, believe in what you're talking about. But let us know, your thoughts on how we grow, whether as a company, as a personal brand in these spaces.
It has a lot to do with consistency. As Naomi just mentioned, consistency also can be relative to a lot of people, because depending on the type of community that you have, as well as the end result, it can vary. A lot of creators I know who are very good at what they do, they're the most inconsistent people I know, because the end result for them is to not generate profit, but to authentically bring across what they want. And they may feel on top of things January 1st, and they share something to their community, and then they don't get, they get busy with work,
or no inspiration. That's
or not inspired.
I take breaks.
And then
I
you
just realized I didn't post for like months.
Yeah, and then by March, something sparks you again, and you're like, oh my God, I need to share this to my community. But then, because you're not really tied into monetizing everything that you're putting out or making it profit generating, but then you have other, if your approach is a profit generating initiative, because you may have a business, a small business, you may have a consultancy, you may have you may sell products, and you do so creatively, then if you want to continue to add value to your community, then you have to show up, you have to show up and be visible and be there. But for me, the key thing, because everything that Naomi said, I agree with. The key thing that I want, our audience members to understand, for me, collaboration, guys. I have majority of the things I've been able to achieve, majority of the projects I've been able to get across, majority of my passion, projects that I've been able to fulfill, all came from collaboration being the heart of the community that I built. In 2020, with the onset of what was happening with George Floyd and all that happening in the United States, I just felt inspired and I made a tweet. I say, I would love to get together a group of creative Black Jamaican men and to do our project. One guy messaged me, he messaged the tweet and he's, I don't know this guy. Like, he answered, he's like, hey Joel, sounds good, I'm a photographer. I'm like, okay, send me a DM. Then Jake Rubin Pringle, who is one of the best photographers in Jamaica,
love Jake,
messaged me on LinkedIn. He's like, hey, that looks like a good project. Well, we're connected on LinkedIn, but then I don't know, we followed each other on Twitter. He's like, hey, that looks like a good project. And then I reach out to my friend. I'm like, Shakil, Shakil is a videographer. And I'm like, Shakil, what do you think about this idea? Shakil, like, this sounds good. And within the space of 2 days, I was able to pull together a team of creators. We started meeting and we're like, okay, what exactly we want to do? You want to showcase Black men looking in a lifestyle photo, but we also want to pay homage to the fact that we're being brutalized, And we came together, a team of three creative turned to a team of 7. And before you know it, we had 24 participants and we were able to execute our first social impact campaign. Fast forward a few months, we executed something for Father's Day. 2021, we celebrated our 1 year, of the movement, started getting brand partners because brand partners believe in what we're doing. And the team of 7 creatives have now gone to almost 15. And the team of 15 creators has now extended to a community of 30 men with not only creativity, but they also are thought leaders and strategists and experts in their fields, from human rights, etc. And I said that because it started from a single intention and it went into the creation of a community, and that only happened because of collaboration. We were able to get the projects done because this person is a photographer, this person is a graphic designer, this person is a videographer. We'll come together with the ideas and we'll collaborate and we're able to put out a product. And when you have corporate like coming and even reaching out to partner, we did an amazing partnership with Red Stripe for International Men's Day, and I'm like, guys, this literally started from a tweet. But when I looked at it, the fact that the community also respected what we were doing, and the fact that collaboration was a centerpiece of what we were trying to bring to the forefront. And that's just one project idea. That's just one instance where collaboration really led me in terms of online community building. And for me, that's the most important thing. You have to work with one another. There's so much value you can get when you sit down with somebody and you may have similar interests, and then you realize that you have a similar interest, but you have so many different views, and then the different views is really what cements the concept of what you're coming up with. And I want people to understand you cannot stand alone. You cannot do what you want to do by yourself. Some people believe that they're a little bit too tough and they can do what they want and whatever. But you see that thing called collaboration and collaboration. It has always been the centerpiece of my community and growing my community, because people like to work with people. People like to be a part of what you're doing. People like they like.
That's it. Like, know and trust.
And once you have that, I'm telling you, and it may take a while to build, and it may take a day. Because again, synergies, intentions, once those are principle in whatever you're doing, the collaboration is just like the icing on the cake. So for me, that's really what you need to focus on when really building a community.
And you know what, Joel, and also I would say the mission, because it's the mission that brought everybody together, right? And that's what happens in communities. You go back again to think about, what is my purpose here? What am I trying to do? And you will find like-minded people that want to be a part of that mission. And I'll give you an example. I'm actually in a membership club called We Should All Be Millionaires. I read this amazing book by Rachel Rogers over the Christmas holidays, and I signed up for her membership club, which I was just like, I can't believe I'm spending this money in this club. But guess what? Rachel is not even in the club, Maybe she'll post something once a month. But you see, the community of women is over 2,000 women.
Wow.
Who all have this mission of becoming millionaires, US dollar millionaires. And so it's a whole club, it's a membership, so there are courses and all kinds of things. But to me, the most value I've gotten is being in a space of women, female entrepreneurs, mothers, all kinds of women who are on this one mission. So we're all sharing ideas, and there's already been collaboration in the club. I don't know anybody in this club other than Kalila Reynolds. We both signed up at the same time because we had both read the book. Mm-hmm. But the value from the community is so, what I paid for the membership, it has far exceeded that. Just sometimes reading one post that someone made and then seeing the 75 comments with everybody's suggestions and ideas and recommendations, it's crazy. I've never been in a community like that. And I was just like, this is insane. Yeah. The value, right? And it's the value from not necessarily the person that even started it. It's the value from people that have the common values, a common mission, and they are willing to help and collaborate and listen to your ideas. So you don't feel out of place. And again, it goes back to wanting to feel seen and heard, right? That's what community is about. It's about connection. So you have to find your tribe or your tribes in the different communities that make you feel good, or you create one with people that have a common mission.
Love it, love it. And Janet is commenting in the chat. She's saying she calls it creative alignment.
Creative alignment. Love that.
Everybody is, coming together. And from what you are sharing, Joel, we are hearing that sometimes people will reach out to you, but sometimes it means that you need to reach out to people as well.
Absolutely.
And there are those of us who may say, oh, I don't know. In a physical space, it may be difficult to just go up and talk to somebody. Maybe Tavia can do that. Maybe Joel can do that. Maybe Naomi can do that. But hey, guys, you're behind your computer screen. It's an easier start. Or your phone.
Guys, I just hired a new team member, a PR chicken training. I've never met this person before in my life. She sent me a DM. I had gotten several resumes, and this young lady took the initiative to DM me. She didn't even know that I was recruiting. And I was so impressed by just the way she approached me that we set up a phone call, and I told her she got the job today.
Wow.
So, congratulations to you, girl. You go, girl.
But that just shows you, right? Sometimes you have to do it scared, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the worst thing someone's going to say is no, and you say, okay, and you move on to the next person. Who else is on my list that I want to collaborate with?
Don't never kill nobody yet.
I still want to do a personal branding interview with Usain Bolt. You heard it here first, guys. I'm working on it.
That's going to be, that's going to happen.
You have to just put it out. I'm a big believer in putting things out into the universe, but you have to take action, right? You have to take action on whatever those things are. Don't just wait for things to drop in your lap. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
So we're hearing a lot about, going out there, doing it. Now, how do we wanted to talk a little bit about this social proof. How do we actually get people to trust what I'm saying? Because I can be up here and just, saying a lot of things, but how do I, in building that community, allow my audience and community to pull into me, to really believe and act on what I'm saying and become a part of that group that believes that we're adding and value to each other? How do I do that?
You have to practice what you preach.
Yeah.
So you can't be promoting these things. Like imagine I am promoting personal branding and how important this is and what you want to be known for and look and feel and all these things. And then when you go on my Instagram page, I am not doing the same things that I'm telling you guys to do. Suppose I showed up on this thing looking very pop down as the PR chick, personal branding coach, whatever. You guys would be like, what is happening here?
Yep.
Or if after I say, okay, I put on this Instagram live, you're like, oh, this is great. I want to follow Naomi. And then you Google me and you can't find anything that supports all these things that I say I do. That's what social proof is. And it is something that's becoming increasingly important in this world. That's why I tell my clients all the time, you have to do a social media cleanse. You could have posted something 2 years ago that you don't remember you posted and somebody dig it up and find it and turns it against you, or it makes them choose not to work with you or collaborate because it's not something that's aligned with their values. And maybe you're not that person from 2 years ago, but that means it doesn't need to be on your page. So we have to be making sure that what we are putting out there is aligned with who we are today, right? It's not, can't be this way on social media and you're a whole different person outside of social media. It's not authentic and you cannot build a community like that. People use Google to find everything, and that's how people make decisions about working with you, hiring you, collaborating with you, doing projects with you, having a conversation with you. And we do it all the time, even with products. You see a product you like, you're going to go online and you're going to read the reviews and see what other people say to see if this is the thing you need to buy. We do that with individuals as well. If you're going to ask a friend and that friend may not know, but they're going to tell you what they do know, even if it's not even accurate, because that means you have a brand. Everybody already has a personal brand that's out there, but you have to ensure that your personal brand that's out there is actually aligned with your actual brand. This social proof thing, let me tell you my experience with social proof just last year. I decided, I had listened to a podcast that spoke about Google and using the 3 key things that you want to be known for. So before I'd search for myself, Naomi Garrick, and of course, all the things I want to see come up. But if you don't know me, you're not searching for Naomi Garrick, you're searching for personal branding, right? So I know if you search for personal branding Jamaica, I am going to come up in the results on the first page because I've been so active on all these platforms and I make sure I share everything. But I was like, what if I wanted to expand my reach globally? I want, if someone just types personal brand or personal branding in Google, I also come up on the first page. How do I do that? I have to expand my reach. How do I expand my reach? I need to figure out how can I be on a bigger platform. And that's what made me apply to become a contributor to entrepreneur.com. Now, that process, I had to fill in all the links to all of my platforms, interviews, LinkedIn, Instagram, everything that I've been on online, so that, because of course, this is a credible brand. So they're not going to put someone up as a professional expert in their field that actually isn't. So they're checking for the receipts to make sure that I am who I am touting to be on this application form. If I didn't have that social proof, if they couldn't Google me and find all these things that I've done related to personal branding, I would not be writing for entrepreneur.com right now. So for me, that was a huge example of how if you are positioning yourself the right way, you are utilizing your social media channels to really push this brand or expertise or this value that you have to offer, how it can lead to opportunities that are beyond your wildest dreams. I remember Joel sent me a screenshot because one of my articles came up in like his, what was it, Apple News or
it was my
Apple
News, my Google News.
What? And what happened was every time an article comes out that I've written on entrepreneur.com, the same day I type personal branding and my article comes up in that first page. So it showed me that if I want to expand this reach, I have to already have created these things on these channels. There's a proof that people can find. And then I can make my move to say, hey, well, here are the links to all of my stuff, right? That's our online receipts. And they can make a decision about working with me.
Love that. Love that.
And it's the same sentiments as well. You know, you have to You have to practice what you preach, and you also have to ensure that it's a reflection of you. A big conversation I have with a lot of young people sometimes, and this is and Naomi would agree as well. This is it's a hot discussion and a hot topic, but my views are just my views. I just don't believe in people separating personal from private. And let me tell you why. You're an individual. I have people who, are like, okay, I work somewhere and I don't want nobody to know. So I have a private page, and then, this is my public page. And then, I'm in fashion and I want to do this, but then I have another interest in social media. So I need like 3 different social media accounts. And I'm like, you're one person. I remember when I had a meltdown because I was just trying to figure out like what to do, and I call a big meeting because I'm dramatic. So I call a big meeting with my 10 friends, and I on FaceTime with all of them. And I'm like, guys, like, this is the first time I'm ever confused about like who I am. And they're like, Joel, you are like a multiple person. I'm like, okay, all right, everybody come up for the call. And I'm like, okay, I'm just Joel. I love marketing. I like fashion now and then. I like to travel. I like different music and that kind of stuff. I give guest presentations. Why am I going to separate all of that? And for me, it ties back into, in fact, it's so much real estate because people just want to connect with you. Mm-hmm. They want to connect with you. You are the reason why they're going to purchase a handbag you may come out with, or the book that you may launch, or the new service that you may drop.
Because they like you.
Because they like you and they want to be a part of that. So it's critical for folks to understand the importance of authenticity, maintaining that. And also a big part of social proof as well. You have to know your limits, and you have to know what to share, and you have to know when to share it. And that's where a lot of people get confused about separating this and that.
Everything.
And you don't have to do that, because again,
or share everything.
It ties into even as an intelligent person understanding certain risks and dangers with social as well. So it's a very interesting and dynamic thing. And just to even back up what Naomi mentioned in terms of being a writer for Entrepreneur Mag as well. I'm a contributor for Adweek, Social Media Examiner, Pop Wrapped. I couldn't just go and contribute like that, because first of all, Naomi can tell you it is 100 times harder as a Jamaican and a non-US national to write for these publications, because they don't care. So when first of all, we're going up against other Americans. Let's begin there. Other Americans, where millions of people live there, to be selected to contribute to these international places, it's very hard to do.
I was very surprised that they said yes. Just because, I mean, I understand the value I bring, but as Joel said, we are competing against like the entire United States of America.
Plus Europe, plus UK.
Plus everywhere.
If we didn't have reputable brands, the people would have let we in, because I'm already, I think, say, hold on, which non-American does apply for this now? So
how many people live in Jamaica?
You know what I mean? I know Naomi has been able to move from that to having her piece popping up first. I've been connected with, the other day I wrote a piece on Pop Wrapped about Matthew Cherry, who the guy that did Hair Love and got the Oscars for it. And Matthew Cherry followed me back and retweet this stuff, and I'm like,
hello.
Which happened because of community. Come and tweet him, I'm gonna tag him.
Yeah.
So we can know.
Guys, I got a retweet from Viola Davis.
Look at you.
Because I'm always up in our Instagram. And I remember what I wrote, and she retweeted it. I have a screenshot. I was like, I have to keep this.
Of course. So I tell you, and these things happen because I'm sure Viola probably even went on the Instagram and be like, who this tag me? Something.
Yeah, like
who's this
guys,
person?
You never know. My dear friend Rushcam said, the internet is a great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with this opportunity that you have to really make powerful connections?
Yes, you have to. So
I mean, guys, we can DM Oprah, she may not respond, but we have the opportunity now to actually send her a message directly.
Do it. Something in the universe. There may be.
Never know. You
Who
never
knows?
know. Trust me. There's a one of the top. She's regarded as a top marketer right now, and I'm not going to stop until I get 15 minutes with her. Bozoma St. John,
More people
Chief
may
Marketing
Love
Officer,
her.
Chief
Love
Marketing Officer at
Buzz.
Netflix, and I'm not stopping until I get a good 15 minutes with Buzz
Listen,
because
I even signed up for her personal branding
her
workshop.
personal branding
I am a
class.
personal branding coach, and I signed up for her personal branding workshop. So just to let you know.
Love it.
You
Love it.
have to, guys. Yeah, and Naomi mentioned it. You have to clean house, and you have to.
You have to be ready. So before you even decide that I'm here, let's make sure that when people go on, I tell people that about PR too all the time. A lot of times people want PR and they're not PR ready. They're not ready for what comes with the attention, right? So you have to be also ready. Just get your house in order. But I want to touch on something Joel said. So like you, Joel, I wear many hats. I do a lot of things. But I am one of those that actually has multiple Instagram profiles. And I'll tell you why. So when I joined Instagram, whenever Instagram just started, I had just a Naomi Garrick page, right? So just Naomi Garrick is me. I post about all the things, my life, food, dogs, travel, whatever I feel like. In 2018, when I decided to launch my workbook and I'm now going into personal branding, I made the decision to start a page specifically for PR Chick, and I'll tell you why. When I post, even though my Naomi Garrick page has more followers than PR Chick, when I post PR Chick related content in my feed on Naomi Garrick, people are not interested. They don't care because that's not why they follow me on that page. They follow me for all the other things. They want to see a journey. They want to see when I go to the beach. They want to see my life. And so I had to use Naomi Garrick to direct people to PR Chick.
Yeah.
So when my first post about personal branding was, hey guys, I'm now doing this. If you're interested in learning how to position, package, and promote your personal brand, follow me at the PR Chick. And that's how I got my first set of followers. And so I will use Naomi Garrick just because I know it has the platform to post in stories or something really relevant to my personal branding side to know direct potential followers. But no, I have my own community in PR Chick. And what I love about it is that anyone that follows me in PR Chick is there because they want to learn about personal branding. So I know that these 4,000 people are here to learn about personal branding. And the same thing with Garrett Communications, which is the PR agency. Of course, I had to have a separate page for the company.
No, absolutely.
I feel so bad because it's the most neglected page, but we're working on it this year. Really working on the personal brand of Garrett Communications on Instagram and LinkedIn. So watch out, watch those spaces, guys. But that was my reason for separating. But then you'll have people like a Joelle, or let's say like a Nicole McLaren Campbell, who people just follow her for everything because she's always posting about all the things. So for her to try and separate her different brands now doesn't really work for her. So no, she does have like a Goal Accelerator separate page and she has something for AIM, but really the bulk of her following is not because of those things. It's because of her as a whole. Yeah. So you have to also be very aware of your brand and what you are trying to share so that you can determine if you need to just stay as one brand or you're going to actually kind of also separate the brands. Even though, as Joel said, you don't have no separation. Your professional and personal brand is the same thing because you are one individual. People are not going to say, oh, Tavia is in her, she's at happy hour at Ribby's, in her NCB shirt or whatever company she works for. And let's say she getting a little rowdy in the bar or whatever, and your client is there. They're not going to be like, oh, Tavia's on happy hour. It's Friday. Happy Friday, guys. No, your client might be like, maybe Tavia's not who I want to manage my money. Right? And as unfortunate as it may be, it's the reality. People see you as just you. And they're not going to separate and say, okay, she's on free time now or on vacation or whatever. I'm going to recognize you for what I know you as. So we have to just be very mindful of that, guys. And you see that thing about privating the page? It makes no sense. It's on the internet. Anyone can have access. If Joel wasn't my friend and I wanted to see Joel's page, I would just say, hey, Tavia, I wanna learn more about this guy, Joel, and I know you guys are friends. Let's open up his IG page. It's as simple as that. Yep. So let's not think that because our pages are private, it means that people can't have access to it.
And it limits access.
It's online.
It shows you don't want to connect with your community or potential persons as well.
And also again, people, you have some folks that are just very private and they do that for that reason. But when we're talking about personal branding, and that's why myself and Naomi had to get into the nitty-gritty of it, because you can't come to talk about personal branding and you want to have a private page, or you want to have
you're not ready, like you're not ready
then. You're not ready then. Because, and sometimes I talk to my friends who are like, who wanted the business, and they're like, yeah, but you know, this is my private account. I'm like, don't come to me, because there's nothing for me to tell you. Don't come to me for branding advice or personal branding advice if you're doing that, because it just doesn't make any sense. You're privating your tweets, you're privating.
And also, as we said earlier, you don't have to post everything. So what I get from a lot of my clients, right, that I coach is that, you know, I don't want to now go online and, you know, have to be posting my children or posting this. I said, but what is the purpose of you being online? You have to start there again, right? That's not why you're having your Instagram page. It's because you are a health and wellness coach and you want to share with the audience how they can increase their health and wellness. So you're going to share the tips. You may share your morning routine on the way to the office. You're doing a consultation, sharing the things that would matter to someone that's interested in hiring you. Right? So we don't have to show all the things, right? So stop looking at what other people are doing and focus on what is right and feels authentic and feels good for your brand. That's what we have to do. We need to put on the blinkers. I mute a lot of people in my space because it's distracting for me and I don't want to feel like I am not doing enough or I should be doing this because this person. So I purposefully choose to mute some of my colleagues and friends on Instagram so that it's not cluttering my thought process of how I want to present my brand. So you have to do the things that will keep you focused.
Love that. And, you know, I think this is also a perfect opportunity for us to hear from our audience as well of their own experiences of building online communities, you know, what challenges or what great successes they've had in building these spaces. So guys, feel free to, for those of us who are here on Zoom, raise your hands, we'll unmute you, we'll, you know, bring it into the conversation. Those on YouTube, because you're not connected to the fancy, you know, software that Naomi told us about earlier, you can still,
it's a free software, you know.
You can still drop your thoughts there and we'll of course share it here as well. And, you know, until our friends, you know, put their hands up or comment on their own experiences, maybe we can talk a little bit about that, you know, experiences that you know of. We've shared a lot, but we can, you know, share some more that drive the point home of the importance of building these online communities.
So I'll give you guys an example. So one of my clients is actually the Mitchell family, right? They're my favorite clients to work with. I've known Tammy and Wayne for years, Wayne as far back as high school. And so when they decided to explore this journey of, you know, really sharing, you know, their family life on YouTube, they reached out to me to assist them with building their brand online. Now they already have both very strong brands, right? So it's a great fun project for our team. But the thing is, again, just like anyone else, we had to get clear on very specific things. So what is their platform going to be about? What is the purpose, right? Yeah. And then even looking at do's and don'ts. So what are brands that we would love to collaborate with? And what are the brands that we definitely are not interested with because it doesn't match with the brands of the family? So we had like a whiteboard where we did our brainstorm. So we listed companies, international and local, that fit in with the family values. And then we had our no's. So it's very easy for me, if a client emails me about working on them with a project, I don't have to even reach out to them about whether we want to do this project or not, because I already know that this is in our don'ts category or this is in our do's category. So we're very clear on what are the values, what's the purpose of the platform. So we know how to engage brands and how we want our look and feel to be. So a lot of times you guys won't even realize that some of the stuff they do are brand collaborations because they are products that they would normally use in their everyday life. So it just becomes a part of the story because they would normally do this. It's just that now they're actually getting paid to do it too. And still enjoy the brands that they love. And that's the best kind of brand collaboration. But before we could do the brand collaborations, we had to be very clear on who they were. And so one of the things we did as a part of building the community was also really engaging. And I think that's what clients like the most about MTM family is the engagement. They have created like a real community of people that love them. This is what we call raving fans in marketing. I mean, they buy the merchandise, they share the show, they watch every single episode, they're always commenting, they know the age of all the children. I don't even know the age of all the children. So, you know, so you have to, it's because they have remained so authentic to their brand and to their values and how they show up for their audience. So we get to see the real, raw, funny, all the things, right? But even though as though it seems very seamless, there actually was thought behind it. Because again, they're opening their homes to the world. So do they show every single thing? No, they don't.
No.
But you still feel like you're a part of their entire world. So you just have to be, as you're building this community, again, it really goes back to those values, right? What's important to you? How do you want people to feel when they engage or they're part of your community? And how can you do that?
Love it. Joel, do you have any, example?
No, definitely. Yeah, man, absolutely. I gave the example of, the collaborative example earlier. And, it's just I don't want to say, because again, I'm also mindful of the fact that people do, have fears of doing certain things and, the imposter syndrome. So sometimes I try to like empathize and give as best of advice as possible that I can. But, for me as well, a good example I could possibly pull on is the first time I did a project with the JTB, Visit Jamaica. And I was fearful because the task that they wanted me to play was the role of an ordained minister, right? Because at this time was the virtual weddings and all of that was taking place. And Carl and Mark, who I met when they asked me to co-host Miss Universe Jamaica 2019 with Terry Carell, that's how we connected. And they called me and they're like, Joel, we're doing a project with Tourist Board, we're having a virtual wedding. I would feel like you'll be a fabulous host, but you're going to be hosting in the form of a ordained minister. And I'm like, huh? Like what? Wedding and ordained, what? Scripture?
Where do you order that?
I decided to take up the challenge because it goes back to, I can't tell people to not be like to ditch fear and all of that. And then here's a great opportunity for me to work with the Ministry of Tourism, with the premier agency of Visit Jamaica under their belt. And I did the project. When I did that project, that led me to work on about 4 more projects with the Visit Jamaica. One that I completed like in December, the most recent one in December.
Wow. And
I say that because one, attitude, again, and I'm telling you, I when they called me the last time to do this project, I'm like, but I'm not really, why are you calling me an influencer? Like I'm, and then they're like, but Joel, your content, you show, you talk about marketing, but you also live life, like you go out. And we just, your personality, the fact that you can speak and whatever, we just think you're a perfect fit for this. And I'm like, okay, and it goes back to a big part that Naomi mentioned earlier in terms of more brands want to tap into micro creators, because when me with my 6,000 followers post something, at least 100 of them are asked where the place is. You know what I mean? And I respond to them, and that's conversion rates for these entities. And I use that example as a 360 because it talks about like not being fearful, because you never know where the other opportunities can come from. By that one opportunity that I got, it has led me to work with them on 4. Just yesterday, I was judging a competition for them. So I'm now intertwined with the brand from a different standpoint. Absolutely. I'm hosting their concert. I'm also presenting their destination, and I'm also judging their marketing competition, and I'm sitting in on a panel for hiring. So there's a whole 360 relationship happening there, and it came, it birthed out of just fully understanding what I'm doing, fully understanding that you also have to bring value, and fully understanding that you can't be fearful about these things. So I just want to share that practical example. I'm happy that myself and Naomi have so many practical examples to share.
Well, you know what, Joel, you also mentioned the fact about you not being an influencer. Of course, you're an influencer.
Like,
and
what
guys, let's just clear that up as well. An influencer is anybody that has influence over someone else or a group of people.
Yeah.
So you do not have to have these millions or thousands of followers. If you have a platform right now and there are people following you, if you have a newsletter and there are people that subscribe to it, you are influencing them, whether it is to be their best selves, whether it is to enhance their craft or skills, whether it is to purchase something. You hold a level of influence. So don't think that you have to get to this macro influencer level before you can be of value. Look within your space now and see what you can do with the influence that you have. We're all in this thing. It's how many of us? 27 of us. This is a community right here. This is a community. How can you connect? I mean, you could be connecting right now in the chat, hint, hint, by saying your name and what you do, your IG handle, so that people can, you never know where opportunities are. So I'm going to type my name and my handle. That's how communities start. So, Naomi, and I am at the PR Chic. I love building brands.
There you go.
I'll start. So this is a community right here, guys. You don't know what could come out of this meetup tonight. So this is where you dump the fear and start where you are.
Love it, guys. This has been such an amazing conversation. I mean, I love this community. I love what we have built, what we've been talking about. And to the friends online, we just want to wrap up tonight for them. What's that one thing, Joel and Naomi, that you would like our online friends or online community to take away from what we've been talking about tonight?
For me, it would be, and Joel and I both spoke about this a lot, done is better than perfect. Start where you are, start scared, but just start, and then just work every day on just making it better.
And my nugget to them is definitely focus on working with other folks who may have similar interests, but also do not always think to network up. Network laterally, and network by bringing up somebody else. And of course, you want to network up as well, because you want to reach into certain audiences. But do all the network. Don't just think of somebody because they have a certain following or they have a certain degree of expertise or whatever, because you have to make it very, very cohesive and inclusive of what you're doing, because some of the gems that you will get is not necessarily from people who you think you're going to get them from. So it's imperative for you to focus on that as a part of the overall brand positioning that you're coming with. So definitely leaving you with that. Network with everybody, and also we're gonna bring that to the centerpiece of collaborating.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and for having these conversations. I'm sure those who are listening they got a lot of gems. You can watch this over and over. Pause it and write. It's been such an amazing talk. Thank you guys online for joining. We look forward to having you again next month, where we talk about something interesting just like this, and we remind you to sign up for the meetup so that you can actually be a part of this private session here on Zoom, where we have more intimate conversations. So thank you so much for joining our Kingston Creative Meetup. We'll see you next time.
And to be a part of the Kingston Creative community.
There you go.